So, hey, how are things, Russell?
Yeah, doing okay.
Doing okay?
Yeah. I need a bit of a haircut. I should have had it before I came on this thing. But...
Looking fun. So we're excited to have you on because we, as you know, you and I have known each other for the better part of a decade now, and I sort of wanted to bring you and onto the show and talk a little bit about you and about Durban Dental Labs. And I mean, I see you guys all over social media. You guys have so much great content going on. I really want to pick your brain and see what's happening in Ontario, what's new in digital, and just have a chat with you. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. No problem.
But we should do our formal.
Should we do a formal?
Our formal introductions and welcome to the shows.
Russell deserves that.
So this is not live though. This is all recorded, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm able to cut things up and
chop it up,
repurpose things as we go. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we're broadcasting live to 250,000 people, Russell.
Yeah. So welcome.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're ready to rock. Welcome to the Dentist on Demand podcast. I'm Tyler McClendon. And as usual, we've got the talented Mr.
Mark Wagner.
Today, we're super excited to have with us Mr. Russel Brown from Durban Dental Labs. Russell, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Well, I always say it's Friday. So that's always.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still morning here, but we're ready to hit the pub. No, I'm just kidding.
We might have already hit the pub.
We start here. So Russell, we're super excited to have you on the show. You've been blowing up with Durban Dental Labs in Ontario. We noticed your content on LinkedIn and Instagram and all sorts of social media channels. So congrats on all your success. I know you guys have been doing amazing things out there. You've got 2 locations now. Is that correct?
I actually have 3 locations. So we have 2 locations under Durban Labs in Ontario. And we own a large lab in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, called Crosstown Dental Lab.
Okay.
Crosstown Dental. Okay.
How is Winnipeg? How is that market?
Winnipeg is an amazing market. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I haven't been there for a year, which is something that really unnerves me because I always love to be with the team, be at the location. But it's a phenomenal market. In many ways, you know, it's a very, very loyal market. We have a very established and solid clientele out there. You know, I would say a few years ago, they were very much, you know, into PFM type restorations as opposed to the zirconias. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, Winnipeg has always been a bit of a slower market in terms of adopting new technologies. But fairly recently, in the last few years, they're really catching up aggressively. And we were actually surprised to see at the pace by which they're adopting new technology. So I would say in the last year, we've seen a big shift to zirconia and a big shift to digital. So Manitoba is absolutely not asleep. They're wide awake and things are progressing there very, very quickly too. But it's a wonderful market and I get to work with truly an amazing team out there. And I'm very lucky to be part of it.
So from there, you're able to hit Western Ontario and I'm sure parts of Saskatchewan as well.
Yeah, our focus is on the Manitoba market for sure. You know, we are the largest lab in Manitoba. We have a very established clientele there. Saying that, we do have a presence in Northern Ontario, so Thunder Bay, in the rural regions of Manitoba, and we do cross over into the eastern part of Saskatchewan.
Gotcha. Cool.
So you talked about dentists in Manitoba really adopting digital. Like, can you is there a percentage? Is like in the last 5 years? I mean, you and I talked about digital ad nauseum, you and I over the years, but like, would you say like in terms of the transition to digital with intraoral scanners, can you put a number to it? Like, what do you think the uptick is now versus say 5 years ago?
Well, I can tell you in Ontario, in our lab. And we've been digital for many years. We've been receiving scans, particularly Artero, for the last, let's say, 15 years. I would say pre-COVID, we were receiving about 15% of all of our cases through intraoral scanners. Then we shut down during COVID. When we reopened in June, I would say by July, that 15% was up to 25%,
Are you kidding?
Yeah, right.
which
That's
was,
interesting.
I just couldn't understand it. I
What,
couldn't
what,
understand what a big shift that was. So, 25% of all of our cases in Ontario now are coming in digitally, which really surprised us.
why do you think that is? That's really interesting.
I don't really know. I mean, we did attract during the pandemic quite a few new customers because whilst we were all closed during the pandemic, we did aggressively continue to reach out to customers by providing education and other information and other support to our clientele. So we were able to attract new customers. But and even speaking to some of the suppliers, they sold a lot of scanners during the COVID period,
Yeah.
and people wanted to go digital, and it was a quick switch for us. And so every day now, we see more and more dentists are going digital. So we think it's really taking hold and gaining traction, which is very exciting for us.
A bit of a paradigm switch, isn't it? Like everybody had some time to think and think about the future and adopt, to really, not just think about it, but like seriously think about things, So
Yeah. Did you find the adoption rate? Like, I mean, I've been working in this industry for years now, and I find that the switch over from analog to digital, there is a learning curve. There's a hesitancy. There's like, oh man, I really got to consider this because there's investment, there's time, there's a change in the way I do things in my office. Was that decision like for people who were analog pre-COVID, once they shifted to COVID, was it like, no, I got to do this. Like I'm going to learn, I'm going to figure this out quickly. And I think that decision, do you think that decision period was shortened quite a bit?
Yeah, I think, as Mark was saying, I think COVID was absolutely a period of reflection for all of us about where are we in our careers? Are we enjoying what we're doing? Do we enjoy where we live? Where do we want to be? And, where do we want our practices to be the next 3, 4, 5 years?
Mhm.
And so I think, with the COVID crisis and talking about infection control, I think people saw that digital was probably a great place to go now.
Yeah.
From a infection control perspective, but also as I think that's what patients are looking for.
Yeah. Less touch. Yeah.
From
Less
a digital
touch point.
perspective,
Yeah.
I think the issue with does this technology work? I think everyone now knows the technology works. There's not an issue, do scanners work? They all work. So it's an issue on, when do I get on board?
Mhm.
Right.
And I mean, digital doesn't like work in every case. Analog still will have a home in some cases where you just can't get enough information. But yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely not.
Russell, are you cool if we ask you a little bit about you? Like, what's your story? What's your background? Where did you come from?
Well, as I'm sure you can hear, I'm a South African that immigrated to Canada in 2006. I actually wasn't in the dental business. I was in my own business, and we decided as a family to, immigrate to Canada back in 2001. We put our application in, and I was actually in the office furniture business in South Africa. I had a partner who actually left and did an MBA at Wharton. And then he was recruited after his MBA to a company called Henry Schein. And soon after that, he worked out of the New York office in the M&A, Mergers and Acquisitions department. And one day he went to the washroom, and Stan Bergman was standing next to him, the CEO of Henry Schein. And he said, "Gideon, I need another South African accountant. Can you find me one?" So I ended up getting a call from a company I'd never heard of, Henry Schein. I don't know who that was. And they said, "Come for an interview." And so I wasn't really looking for a job at the time, but when the CEO of a Fortune 500 company says, "Come meet me," you get on the next plane and you come.
You go. That's right.
So I met with Stan. It was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And he offered me a job. And I said, "But hey, we've applied to go to Canada. Is there any opportunity there?" And he said, "Well, funnily enough, Ash Temple just merged with Henry Schein Arcona, and they needed a lot of help with that transition. And I guess the rest was history. So I joined Henry Schein in 2006, and it was I had a great time there.
Yeah.
Met great people.
Absolutely. You hired me.
I did. As far as I remember, we hired you at the PDC convention. Am I correct?
I think it was in 2013.
Oh, the national sales meeting.
Sales meeting, yeah. So I was,
Yeah.
I popped in real quick to meet you, to do a face-to-face. And I do remember, I was like, okay, I'm getting this job. Like, I want this job. I'm getting it. I don't care what happens. This is happening today. And I think, to quote you, I think you said, well, you haven't really given me a reason to not hire you. So let's give it a go. So,
yeah. I thought your background as an actor was fascinating.
Well,
I thought, well, maybe this guy could fake it and make a really good sales guy.
Yeah, he still does. Yeah, you've nailed it.
No, but you know what? It's been a tremendous, like my time at Henry Schein has been absolutely like a rewarding, tremendous experience. And I've never had a full chance to put it on record, but thank you for hiring me at Henry Schein. It's been a fabulous ride.
From what I hear, it was one of the best hires we ever made.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Now you're just making fun of me. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not at all.
No, thank you. So yeah, that's your story. And so tell us a little bit about your decision. So moving into Durban Dental Labs, how did that become around?
Yeah, I think, myself and the team at Henry Schein, we worked through a very hard transition at the time with the merger. We invested in a lot of good people. We put a very, very good structure in place. And I think Henry Schein, was really set up for tremendous success, and like it is today. At that time, after being there for 8 or 9 years, I think I started to yearn for the days that I owned my own business back in South Africa, when I was an entrepreneur. And as part of my duties, I guess I was partly responsible for Zahn. We had just hired Bill Dow, who's a leader at Henry Schein today. And by hiring, he was very energetic, a lot of energy, a lot of passion. And I thought, I'm going to help support this guy. Let me learn a little bit more about the lab business, which I did. I went to Chicago a couple of times, met with some of the lab customers, and I think just fell in love with the business. Really just saw that this industry is going through such dramatic change. And I think I could add value because a lot of the lab owners, it is a very fragmented industry. It is run by, a lot of technical people that may not have the required business knowledge to go through that evolution. So I thought, this seems a bit chaotic to me. It seems like there's a lot of change happening here. And I just got excited in that I think I could add, some value. And for me, whenever there's chaos, there's opportunity. And I sensed a lot of chaos in the lab business, and it appealed to me. And it took me a while to make the decision because I loved what I did at Henry Schein. I worked with amazing people who continue to be close to me today. And I think to leave was a very, very tough decision, but I just couldn't hold myself back. I was so excited at the opportunity of creating a business out of this lab business that I eventually took the leap. It was extremely scary at the time. I think I felt sick for months afterwards, but that's what led to that decision.
And it's a brave leap. I mean, I saw a soundbite recently where it said, when you're scared to jump, that's the time to jump. Yeah.
Right.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, I just figured I was 39 years old at the time. And I said, well, life is really short. And if I don't take the leap now, it will never, ever happen.
Yeah.
And so, I had a lot of support from my wife, who was probably more scared than I was. And I think secretly hoped that I would stay at Henry Schein, but she was extremely supportive. She always has been. And I think without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. But yeah, it was extremely scary. And I must say for 3 or 4 years after I made that decision, it was very tough. And I questioned every day whether I had actually made the right decision.
So have you?
Yeah, I think
Have you made the right decision?
I definitely have.
Awesome.
At this point, I think we went through some tremendous tough times. The beginning part was excruciating.
I bet.
I think we probably nearly went bankrupt a few times, made some mistakes along the way. But I think we've made more good decisions than bad. I work with an unbelievable group of people now that it took some time to really put together. But our team is amazing. I now have support that I never had before, which is great, because when you're the only guy and everyone's relying on you, it's tough, and that can wear you down over time. But I think I'm very, very lucky. I was given some great opportunities, get to work with some great people, and that's made all the difference. And I think, we've been investing in this digital strategy for years now, and you keep putting money in and money in and money in, and you never see any return, which is kind of scary. But what's exciting now, even though these are chaotic times, what's exciting is you start to see some return on that investment when, in fact, wow, the market really is going digital, and people do see us as a digital lab. And when we start to see that growth, it gets really exciting and really rewarding. So I think we're in a good place. We're well placed for growth with digital, and there's absolutely no looking back for me at this point.
Do you think it was an advantage jumping in when you did? Like, because you started from scratch, correct?
Yeah, I started off buying a small little lab in Ontario. It was a 4-person lab.
Okay.
That really couldn't support me at all. And in fact, I went from my job at Henry Schein to the small little lab, which was on top of a Subway restaurant. And I thought the smell was really nice for the first week. And then, after that, it wore off pretty quickly. and I just arrived in that lab. We had 3 or 4 other people. And I just figured, what the hell have I done, and what do I do now? I really didn't know what to do.
Just go downstairs and get a Subway sandwich.
Exactly, and that's part of my problem, unfortunately. But we all have weaknesses. But that's where it all started from, and it's been quite a journey since then, for sure.
And so you must have said to yourself, if I'm gonna, sorry, Mark, I know you want to jump in.
Yeah.
You must have said to yourself, hey, if I'm gonna do this, we have to move in a digital direction, like right now. And that's,
Absolutely.
I think we share a little bit of similarity there, because when I got into, when I started working with Henry Schein, when I really got into dental, I mean, I didn't get into dental that long ago. I mean, it feels long ago now, but when you and I first met, I only had been doing this for a year. So I was just getting my feet wet in the lab world. So for me to start looking at intraoral scanners and mills and all this stuff was like, it was kind of mind blowing for me, but I think I always viewed that as my advantage, because I'm like, I didn't have the analog to draw upon. I didn't really understand the mechanics behind layering porcelain. Over time I'm learning that stuff, but like, do I need to learn that stuff anymore? I mean, obviously I can't speak on, I'm sort of talking about my journey here, but like jumping in at that point in the game, I just went 100% digital. I never looked back at the analog.
Right. Well, obviously, the lab can't totally abandon analog. We still do a lot of analog work. There's still a lot of dentists that demand analog, and that's no problem at all. But it was important for us to prepare an avenue by which dentists that wanted to go digital knew who they could talk to for the support, for the advice, for the hand-holding on how to integrate and how to make that workflow work. Because, despite what some people may think, let me buy a scanner, plug it in and start scanning. It's really not that simple. It really is about the workflow.
Yeah.
How is this workflow going to work in my practice? How am I going to train my staff? How am I going to integrate the protocols? And how am I going to communicate with the lab who's going to give me what I need? And, there are a lot of labs out there that are not digital. There are a few that are, but there are a lot that really are not. And if you don't have that experience, then dentists become very frustrated with the investments that they've made. And, sometimes they'll buy a scanner. If the lab's not equipped, the dentists will just get frustrated, and the technology will not be fully utilized. So we wanted to make sure that we had those expertise, we had that experience. So when the market does go digital, dentists will identify us as a digital lab, which is what's happening now.
Yeah, you're a leader in that space.
Yeah. So, Digital's happening. It's slowly taking over. Well, not slowly,
taking over.
faster now. Chairside,
Yeah.
mills in practice, resin crowns, resin 3D printed crowns, stuff that could be done in practice. What are your thoughts on all of this stuff now coming on the horizon?
Yeah, so I mean, chairside dentistry, there's nothing new to that. We do see a quicker adoption of chairside dentistry. But, I don't, and traditionally labs have been very scared to say the word CEREC. It's always been a word that you never really wanted to talk about. But we really embrace it because we are able to support dentists that have CEREC. In fact, we have quite a few CEREC doctors that actually send us scans. We actually do the design for them, and then they either mill it in-house or they let us mill for them. We also, there's a lot of work that the dentists do that they don't want to do in-house, whether it be implants, whether they want to full bridge work or anterior work, that they're able to send us the scan and we're able to fabricate that for them. So I think it's a partnership. I think we can help them with their CEREC. We can help them with that integration, and it's not something to really be scared of. It's something that needs to be embraced.
So I think it also boils down to time too. A lot of these clinicians just don't have the time to implement chairside.
The design. Right? I mean, I think Russell hit the nail on the head with the design. I mean,
yeah,
if you're milling in house, you're like, I don't have time to design. I mean, for you to jump in and streamline that process, like you say, with going back to the workflow again, that's huge.
I mean, single unit posterior, sure, but it's what is their level? Like, you almost have to hire a technician in practice to roll out a full successful,
And I think because there's so much more that can be done in digital. I mean, this is an ever expanding landscape. So to have a trusted lab partner like Durban, like if I'm a dentist in Ontario and I'm working with you guys, I'm like, I'm calling Russell saying, hey, I've heard there's a new printer on the market. Like, should I get into this? What do you think? Like I would call you first to say, what's going on with this technology?
Yeah, and I think it's very important for labs to realize that the market is changing. And, as you go more and more digital, you have to think about our own internal processes as a lab, and how can we use digital to make ourselves better. I know traditionally the turnaround time for a restoration is maybe 7 to 14 days for a lab, but we ask ourselves questions like, if we go fully digital and let's say we do a modeless posterior crown, do we really need 7 days? Or could we do that in 3 days and maintain the same quality level? Because if you're doing, let's say, a modeless restoration, you're cutting out quite a few steps. And so what we try and do in our business is we say, okay, as we make our processes more efficient, as we can take costs out of our production cycle, are we able to take those costs and pass them on to the dentist and therefore onto the patient in a way that where we're not losing margin, but we just all become a lot more efficient and a lot more competitive without losing the quality. And that's what we're challenging ourselves with, is can we take costs out of dentistry whilst maintaining that quality? And we're taking steps to do that every day.
So that being said,
because I feel if people are going digital, there should be some benefits to them for doing that.
I totally agree. I think speed and cost are the first two things that come to mind for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on that topic, Russell, what is a technology that's come into the market recently that excites you the most?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, we've spoken about digital impressions. I think we've been talking about that for years now, but the speed of adoption now is our focus. That is where we're spending all of our time. Another thing that we love is digital surgical guides and digital implant planning. It's something that we adopted 5 years ago when there didn't seem to be much of a market for it. We've invested heavily in that space. And for the first 3 or 4 years, we lost money hand over fist because we had the infrastructure, but we didn't have the demand. Well, slowly that demand has really increased. The implant companies are really pushing, digital surgical guides and digital surgery as a more predictable way to place implants, and demand for that has really increased. So it's exciting to see, how you can lay the foundations for something, and you finally get that adoption. But I think that's going to be the only way to place implants in the future is using digital implant planning, CBCT scans, intraoral scanning, and this digital treatment planning for implants, which is terrific. Of course, we're also seeing digital smile design now.
Yeah.
So when patients are able to come in, if the dentist can give them a perspective of what they could look like, with a new smile, with a new restoration, then how exciting could that be? And I think what that's doing is it's making patients excited. They're able to visualize it, which is obviously increasing case acceptance and thereby increasing the volume of work that we're getting in the lab.
It's nice to hear you echo that. We had a podcast with Dr. Faraj Edher a couple of weeks ago, and he said verbatim, when the patient is able to see what they could potentially look like, there's no greater motivator for the patient. Yeah.
Is that a service you provide, Russell?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we've played with different technologies. We've played with Bellis. We do a lot with 3Shape. And what we've also do is now we put together PowerPoint presentations for dentists to give to their patients. So if we get good photographs, and they have to be good photographs, without a good photograph, there's very little that we can do. But if we get good photographs from the dentist and they provide that to us, we can create a beautiful presentation that we can provide the patient and the dentist to motivate them to move forward. And we're going to see that as, I still think there are things that we can do to really improve that service. And there's always new technology coming onto the market to improve the quality of that product. But that definitely is the future, and it's something that's quite exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So are you presenting to the dentist and the patient, or are you handing it to the dentist to present?
We're giving it to the dentist. We seldom get involved with the dentist, with the actual patient, so we leave that up to the dentist.
And is it more of like a clinical PowerPoint, or is it more, for the patient?
Well, I would say it's more for the patient. They see before and after shots. There's a slider that shows them, how their smile can transform from what they have now to what they could possibly look like. Okay. Of course, once the patient accepts treatment, then we are able to give more exact clinical measurements to the dentist and talk to them more technically about the case.
Right.
But we try to make it as simple as possible so that the patient can visualize what they could possibly look like.
It's a great starting point.
It is.
That's a great discussion. If I'm a dentist in Ontario and I want to get into implants, can I come to you or Durban to say, where do I get started?
Absolutely. Okay. We're very proud that we have great relationships with really all the implant companies. We work very, very closely with them. We do a lot of dental CE, a lot of education, and we attend we sponsor most of the dental implant residency courses where dentists can sign up and get taught how to place implants on live patients. We participate in many of those courses. So absolutely, we were able to give advice and direct dentists in the right direction, for sure.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Because I see that. I've had a few come to me recently and they're like, COVID obviously was a big impact on that. But, lately I've been getting asked, like, where do I go? What do I do? It'd be nice to have that go-to to say, you know what, give Russell a call. He'll point you in the right direction. Obviously for folks that I know in Ontario, but we need to clone you. We need a Russell here.
You've got some good solutions there.
We've got some great partners out here. So
Canada is just so geographically huge, right?
It is. Yeah. Sure.
Absolutely.
Changes in dentistry. You can see I've got my cheat sheet here. Changes in dentistry that you think has had the biggest impact on patients. I think we may have just sort of touched on that, but is there anything else that you see that like changes in dentistry? We've talked about intraoral scanning. We've talked about smile design. Is there anything else that you can see that's happening, that's changing in the dental world that is having a direct impact on the patient?
I think it's just a consumer that is more aware, more educated. They know what they want. They know what implant they're getting placed, and they want it now. We see from a lot of dentists, I want my stuff quicker. We need quicker turnaround times, which is obviously challenging the labs on how we can obviously achieve this. But patients are aware, they know what they want. They're aware of dental materials. It's incredible how much research some of the patients are doing. But again, with digital impressions, with digital implant design, with digital smile design, there's a lot happening. And I think it's all for the betterment of the patient, because when you use a digital impression, it is more accurate. We do see less remakes, and we're able to be a lot more efficient and get a better result, a better priced result, more competitive, and a quicker result for the patient. So it's all benefiting patients for sure.
Fantastic. You have any other questions for Russell?
Rugby guy?
Oh, good question.
I used to watch, but not any. I lost contact with that. I think I've been too busy working.
Too busy at the bench.
Well, do they show much rugby in Canada? Like, can you see much of it here?
No, you can see whatever you want, man.
It's all on demand now, right?
It's all on demand. Yeah, you sign up for anything, and you get it, whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have 4 kids, and we have a business. So I don't have much time for myself.
Oh, geez, say no more. Yeah, 4 kids. Yeah.
How old?
They range. So my eldest is in university, so he's just turned 19. And my youngest is 5, so we have quite a span.
That is a range. Wow. Yeah.
You are busy.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have time for rugby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Maybe watching the kids play rugby.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you have any ongoing CE happening right now?
All the time. All the time. We work with, like I say, 3 or 4 of the implant residency courses.
Right.
We do courses at our lab from time to time on implants, particularly. And last year, we actually brought out Frank Spear, which was a huge deal for us.
Right.
It was extremely successful. We had 400 dentists in attendance.
Holy
we were
cow.
due to bring him out. Sorry, the year before, we were due to bring him out last year. We had to postpone it. But it's something we would like to do next year. That was really probably our biggest and most successful event we've ever had. And we would like to duplicate that. But education, that's what we're all about. It's a great way to connect with dentists. It's a great way to share that learned experience and to help support them in getting themselves to the next level. And it's a great way for us to cultivate relationships. So it's something that we do most weekends. We're always busy, and we make sure that we fully engage in dental CE. And we partner with some amazing people and some amazing organizations, and that we're very, very proud to work with.
That's outstanding. Do you get to take a day off?
Yes, that was my question.
Well, now I do. Now I actually have some help, which is incredible. So it's good to get some time off and spend time with the family, and not to have that constant pressure. We have a bit of breathing room now. We're doing obviously a lot better, and it's good to just to start to really enjoy what you're doing, which is what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. Yeah. And it's great to have that breathing room where you can enjoy. And I'm definitely starting to enjoy more and more, because we have some great people on board.
If you're not enjoying it, that's tough.
Well, it was tough the first few years. It's a battle. People used to say, "Wow, it must be fun having your own business." And I used to think to myself, "Man, I don't even know what you're talking about." But it certainly is fun now, and that's what's so rewarding.
You're on the surface. It sounds like that's nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, you've always been a very entertaining person to speak to, and you always provide great insight for us. So thank you again for being on this with us. Is there anything else you want to cover before we sign off with you?
No, I just want to say I think you guys are doing a great job. Tyler, you've never been happy with the status quo. You're always looking out there, differentiating yourself. I think if you don't differentiate yourself in our industry, you're going to die. This program is one example of how you guys are differentiating yourself and how you're reaching new audiences, and I commend you on it. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Russell.
Well, we're lucky to know people like you. So I've always envisioned this to say, you know, one day I'm going to have Russel Brown on one of my shows, and it's always been on my little list there. So I can now cross that off and say, all right, we'll have him on in 6 months.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
Anytime, guys. Anytime.
Yeah.
Russell, it was great to talk to you. We'll let you get back. We know you're a busy man. You're in demand. I can bet your phone is vibrating like crazy right now.
We've heard it.
I think I can hear it through
Your
the phone.
computer's dinging as we're like 100 times here. We better get to it.
It was great to see you, my friend. And as always, stay in touch. And we'll have you on again in the future.
All the best.
Okay. Thanks, Russell.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.